This is the worst part of any spreadsheet, and today I want to help you take the first steps into never using this again with the array formula. When you're working with larger data sets that are constantly being updated, it's very easy to sink a lot of time into dragging formulas around and copying and pasting them between sheets. But there's a better way. You can have your formula loop through every row of your data set with the magic and wonder that is the array formula. Administrative professionals hate this one easy trick, and if you stick around until the end, I'll show you how to use this formula to take your spreadsheets to the next level. Before we get too much deeper, what even is an array? The term array is often used in programming and scripting to denote a data structure that looks like a list or a table. When it comes to spreadsheets though, an array is pretty much any collection of cells that are next to one another in a table form or just a single column. Anytime you use a sum or an average, you're using an array. The array formula allows you to take a function that usually acts on a single cell and apply that to a range of cells instead, looping through one by one and spitting out the results. Let's say you have a table with all of your products in it. It has the prices and it has the number of orders for each of those products. If you wanted to work out the revenue that each product had brought in, you can just multiply the number of products sold by the price of that item. If you're just doing this once, it's probably easiest to just drag the formula down or use the auto prompt that Google Sheets recommends. But if you have new rows of data being added every day, rather than coming back and dragging that same formula over and over again, you can use an array formula instead. Nifty. In this case, rather than selecting two cells and multiplying them together like we normally would, you can select two open ranges, in this case C2 to C and D2 to D, and multiply those two together instead. Then we can convert this into an array formula by pressing Ctrl or Command with Shift and Enter. By not specifying an end row to either of those ranges, any new data that gets added to the sheet will be included into the calculation as well. You can use this with a whole host of formulae, and it's particularly useful when you're adding new columns of data to an existing table, like in our previous example. I often use this for things like transforming dates into week numbers or years or months, calculating the VAT on sales, or even grouping all of our products into specific categories. You can also use them in multiple dimensions at the same time. Take a look at this table here. We can take the row and the column as parameters within our array formula to spit out an entire grid of calculations. This could be particularly useful if you were trying to scenario plan different sales prices to see what your profit margin would be at the end. I quite often use this structure to generate every possible variation for a SKU, like in this table here. I have each size along the header row and each colour in the first column. I can do some quick text concatenation here to generate a table with every variable. One final and very handy application is the VLookup. Similar to our first example, you can use this vertically to carry out a VLookup against a whole column. But perhaps more interestingly, you can also use this horizontally to return more than one field from a single VLookup. To do this, we can modify the third argument of the VLookup formula, which takes the index of the column that we want to return. We can use curly brackets to create a list of columns that we want to return, and voila, a nifty new sheet. We've spoken a lot about using array formulas in tables with lots of data, which you often want to filter and sort and rearrange. That can cause a real problem with array formulas though, because they exist in the very first cell of the column. But it's not too difficult to get around this. We can actually add the array formula to the title cell by using those curly brackets again. As we did in the VLookup example, we can use the curly brackets to create a range, but this time we're going to put the array formula inside that range. First, we need to take the title that we have in the header and wrap that inside quotation marks. This is because we're turning it into a formula and we need to tell the spreadsheet that this is a string of text. Then we're going to use a semicolon rather than a comma to separate the value. This denotes that we're starting a new row. We can copy and paste our array formula here and finish off by closing up our curly brackets. And there you go. Now you can filter and rearrange your data without losing half of the calculations in the process. So hopefully now you've got all the tools you need to start using array formula in your day-to-day work. Some of these formulae can still cause errors though, even in an array formula. So you're going to want to watch this video on error handling next. I'll be making plenty more videos on this and other formulas that I use every day, so make sure to subscribe and come back soon.